Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So my contacts have been giving me trouble, so I'm wearing my glasses for this one, but it's fine. We're on episode 13 of Death Note, and the last two episodes have been absolutely wonderful. I have loved episode 11 and 12. They were amazing. I'm so glad Misa is involved now. She's this like brand of chaos. We got the whole backstory with her and Jealous in the last episode. What a Shinigami name. And then Rem's like, why do I bother? I feel for Rem. I feel like Misa is going to give Rem a lot of grief. And I feel for Ryuk too. So maybe Rem and Ryuk, they're like, why did we sign up for this? Why did we give these death notes to these humans? What are we going to do? But yeah, so Misa wants to meet up with Light. Light is in a bit of a pickle because Misa is... I just got done watching the English dub, and I do like the phrasing of Brad Swale as Light when he's like, he's a liability. I was like, yes! So they change a little bit of the wording in the English dub for episode 12, which is fascinating. One is that instead of in the Japanese dub it says, oh, he's no good. In the English dub it's like, he's a liability, which, yeah, Misa at this point is a liability to Light because if Misa's captured by the police, even though Misa could probably defend herself if she had the Death Note with her. If she doesn't, then that's going to be an issue. Like if she walks around the street, she has it under her bed, so if she doesn't carry it with her, she's going to be a liability. And I don't know if she's thought that far ahead, like Light, to like carry it on her or not. I don't know, but it's like, ooh. So she just wants to meet Kira, and Light just wants to make sure that Light still thinks it's a he, gets out of the picture because, yeah, they're a liability. And then L's been like, I got this covered, and basically has set this whole thing up that it's a win-win for L, right? As long as Misa doesn't figure out who L is. So, and Light still wants to kill L. So it's just a big old bag of craziness. But I had a couple comments before we start episode 13 from some previous episodes that I wanted to address. Herbatz, I'm going to probably say this wrong, so I'm sorry. Herbataz Imbirim, I'll put it up here, noted that L's test in episode 10, the page numbered would be very suspicious to anybody, but Light already knew the message, so the page numbers were fine. That's not what got him off. And it still made L be more suspicious of Light because he kind of took a shortcut and he used his intelligence to kind of justify it. And L's like, that's still pretty weird and suspicious. So I liked that comment. That was really cool. And then Alexander Q, we were talking about like, Light has Ryuk as a confidant in episode 10. And Alexandra was like, well, L kind of has Watari as a confidant. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. The only difference is everybody can kind of see Watari and nobody can see Ryuk, so for Light it's kind of more secretive, but that is a good comparison. I like that. And if you think about it, you had Watari hiding the 64 cameras, you had Ryuk finding the 64 cameras, so they are kind of both the confidants for either of them. I also had a thought based on that too, that Ryuk was able to see how much time like Chief Yagami has left on Earth, and he could convert that if he wanted to. Misa, technically with the Shinigami eyes, should be able to see how much lifespan they have left. So Misa could convert a lot of that with Light, with Chief Yagami, with all sorts of things. Also, on that note, in the English dub, when Rem was explaining at the very end of how Jealous died, the English translation was that all of the extra lifespan went to Misa from Jealous, and it extended her life beyond its natural state. So I was like, so her taking the Shinigami eyes probably bore no problems whatsoever, because she was probably going to live to be like, 180 with the extra lives that she got from Jealous, which is beyond her natural limit. And so her cutting that in half means that she'd die at 90 years. So still realistic and no skin off her back. And it's like, okay. So yeah, her taking the Shinigami eyes probably didn't hurt her any at all, now that we know that she got that remaining lifespan from Jealous. So that's fascinating. I was like, oh, well, she maybe only has 5 years left. Don't think so. So yeah, as my dog's carving out a place to sleep in the carpet, I thought about taking my glasses off just to watch the episode, just so that they weren't in the way, but I really want to see. So I do apologize for having them on. I'm sorry for the glare, but I'm watching this a little bit later in the evening because you can kind of like, it doesn't reflect nearly as badly. So yeah, but I'm really excited for episode 13. How these two are gonna meet, I don't know. I'm very curious to see how Light's opinion of her changes when he finds out it's a woman, not a guy. And because so far, as we've established in the last couple episodes, Light he does think women are inferior to him. He doesn't think they're as smart as him. But also, he's not been more hesitant to hurt women, if at all, right? Naomi's really been the only one he's killed. He hasn't really killed any female criminals. It's only been Naomi because she was onto him. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole liability factor changes because it's a woman. That's going to be interesting. And if he's going to try to, he tried to woo the girl on the date to use her, is he going to try to use Misa as well? Possibly. She's got the Shinigami eyes, so he's got to tread lightly. So, no pun intended. But I got my tea. I'm ready to go. So, let's not waste any more time and see what all happens, shall we? We are going to start episode 13 of Death Note. And we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I am nervous for Elle. I am so nervous for Elle. We were doing good. Elle was doing great. He was like, I figured it out. We'll put the ball in Kira's court. But Misa, she is quite interesting in this. This episode shows, because the last two episodes, I've been like, oh, she's sloppy and she's dumb and all this stuff, but she is maybe not as dumb as we think she is. And she's doing some things that I'm like, oh, okay, she's dangerous. She is dangerous for Light. And I'm like, Light, do you realize what you're getting yourself into? It's so funny because we talked about the moment that Misa was revealed back in episode 11. It was like, it's like, oh, Light, you're going to have to really, I say back in episode 11, it was like 2 episodes ago. That's how much stuff has gone on since then. But I was like, oh, Light, you're going to have to perform that heterosexuality really hard now. He literally is going to have to pretend to be a boyfriend. This man that is not capable of human emotions. We're going to talk about that. I'm like, oh, I was like, Light, if you are on board with Light at this point, is it just because he's hot? Like, do you have, which Misa can't get inside Light's head like we can, so she can't see what he's thinking. But I'm like, Light, I'm worried for Elle. I really am, because if she's going to be his eyes, she's not Eve, she's Lilith. That's what she is. She's not Eve. If he's Adam, she is Lilith. I'm a bit worried for Elle. I'm like, how can he get by with this? She can just look at him and kill him. How is he going to talk his way out of this? Can Elle talk his way out of this? I'm like, how is Elle not going to die? Because she has the Shinigami eyes and she can see his lifespan and everything. How? I'm so concerned and confused. I'm like, if at this point, all Light has to do is get her near Elle with a death note, and he's dead. So I'm like, how? That's the kind of the intrigue about the show. How is he getting out of it? Because we're not even to the halfway point. We're still far away from that. So I'm like, I can't imagine that Elle doesn't make it till the end of the series. If they kill Elle off by the halfway point, then what was? No! I love Elle too much for that. There has to be something happen. There's so much that happens in these episodes, though, that even though I said way back with Naomi that Light was going to get caught, and I was like, it's too early for that. And I'm like, it's too early to think that Elle will get killed. I'm like, maybe Elle can bond with Misa over strawberry sundaes, and then they both realize that she realizes Elle is a good person, and she's like, oh, I don't want to kill you. Maybe Elle's legally changed his name to Elle, and that's it. But I want him to be safe, but I don't know how that's going to be possible. We need to go through this episode, though. There was a lot. I debated on whether to bring White War Coon out or not, but I'm like, there's still some stuff we need to talk about in this episode. I was like, okay, wait a minute. the end of the episode and Light, I'm like, honey, no, you're missing the point. Oh, Light, our serial killer protagonist. Oh my God. So Misa, I will eventually not call her Mikasa anymore, but Misa, her crying at the end makes sense now because she lost her parents to a burglar, and the burglar was going to be cleared of charges because there were some false accusations along with it. Supposedly. I don't know if I can trust Misa at this point. I don't know if I can trust her. I'll just say that. But she saw Light as her savior. He killed the man that killed her parents. And so she wanted to thank him and help him and what he represents. So it's curious. I'm going to put Misa right here. So things we have learned about Misa in this episode. Her parents were killed by a burglar last year. Okay. All right. And justice was not being served to him, right? That's interesting that it's funny that happened, but I'm like, she just has some bad luck, or it's karma. It's things trying to redirect themselves. You know, there's that theory that, you know, if you alter fate, if you alter the future, then karma will try to redirect itself and realign itself on the right path. So maybe I'm like, were her parents killed because she was spared by jealous? Is that all tied to it? Did the Shinigami King be like, this is how it's going to go down? I don't know. So, and then we have Light, which I'm going to put Light over here. At this point, I'm not sure if Rem can see Ryuk. Light can see Rem. Light can see Rem, but Misa cannot see Ryuk. Misa would probably think Ryuk is adorable, though. Based on the plushies that she has in her room, she would probably think Ryuk is adorable and would want to be his bestie. But Light, as Kira, Light, he killed the burglar that killed her parents. The funny thing in all that is that Light didn't know any of that. That's just random happenstance. What a coincidence. He didn't know. Is she even telling the truth? Can we trust Misa? That's a good question. Is she trustworthy? Because she, in the last episode, wanted to know how to kill a Shinigami. Why would that matter? Why would you want to kill a Shinigami? What's the deal? Why does that matter? Why do you need to kill a Shinigami? I don't understand. So, a Shinigami saved you. Why would you want to know how to kill him? So, Misa, there's just something not quite trusting about her, especially with what she reveals in this episode about how she's not as dumb as she seems. I'm like, well, she's not as dumb as she seems. That means she's even more dangerous than she was when she was just, as they said, idiotic. So, and we're going to talk about this with L because something is there too. Yeah. It makes sense now that Light would use her as his eyes because it's a win-win for Light. He's like, I can use this girl. I can use her powers and I don't get my lifespan cut in half. Now, what he probably doesn't know is that she has like 90 years of her life left because she only lost half of what Jealous gave her. So, and it's curious that we find out. I'm going to put some Death Note. I'm going to put over here some Death Note lore. We got some Death Note stuff dropped in this episode, which is interesting. The one being that those with a Death Note, it's funny, we were just talking about this before the episode. Those with a Death Note cannot see their lifespan. I'm glad that's the case. I am. I think that's a very interesting. It would probably, if somebody had the Death Note and the Shinigami eyes and could see how much life they have left, that would be very dangerous because if somebody looked up there and saw they had 5 days left, then they'd be like, I have nothing to lose, and would probably start killing lots of people thinking, don't care, and without thinking about it, depending on their mentality, their personality, their disposition. But then the same could be true if they find out they have 90 years left. They could be like, don't care, gonna write more names down. So it's kind of like a lose-lose. It's a dangerous situation either way. So I like the caveat that if you have a death note, not only can you not see your lifespan, but you can't see the lifespan of anybody else with a death note. That seems like it's going to be set up to do something ridiculous later on because, again, the Shinigami with the headdress is still wandering around to check on the human world. I haven't forgotten about him. He's in the back of my mind. So I'm like, will he come in contact with L? That would be insane if he came in contact with L and was like, hey, you want a death note? Like, L, I don't know what L would do. I'm a little bit terrified about that, to be honest. But, okay, when you get through this episode, like, barely even started, and I'm like, what the heck? Confession. Oh, my God. Yeah, interesting. So we see Light going to the hotel to meet because there was another message from Second Kira sent to Sakura TV, her favorite network. I want to make note the color symbolism of this episode right off the bat. It's a video and a diary. I thought I'd tell you. Light has ditched the white jacket in favor of the red jacket. That's the color of apples. And also, the color spotting with red has been associated with Misa. So I find that interesting that Light wearing the red jacket. We saw Misa in the last episode with the red hat, and she's always having red lipstick, and there's some kind of red element with her character all the time. So I find it funny that Light's wearing the red jacket in this episode. I don't think we've seen him with that before. Red looks good on him. It does. And so Light, from the get-go here, says a diary, another movie, that idiot. So Light, he thinks that Misa is dumb. Thinks that Misa is dumb, but is calling him the idiot. And I love that he says, can't he just sit still a while? I'm like, oh, Light, honey. No, because you're not giving him the answer that she wants, right? So he's like, what? Did he want the diary to be shown on TV? And he's like, yeah. And so we see, L here. And so we have 2006. So this was last year's diary. So if she was talking about her parents being killed last year, maybe that's why she's bringing it up, because she wanted to tie back to the year that her family died to be like, look, Kira, you got me retribution for my family dying. I want to repay you. I don't really see anything. I'm sure in the comments you all will note what has been changed, but I don't see, and maybe when I watch the English dub, it'll show like what the lines are. But I see something about CD on the 13th. And he's like, take a look at the 13th. Yeah. Yep. So 28th, something better than the PZ2 is coming out. It's called PZX. 30th confirmed, our Shinigami at the Tokyo Dome. Oh, so basically, here's the thing. She set up all of these different dates and locations to snuff him out at one of them, knowing that he'd come at one of them, and knew that he would not be able to show the lifespan. So she was basically snuffing him out. She wanted to find out where he was, and she even wore a wig and everything to go undercover. I'm like, she's maybe a little bit smarter than she seems. If we air this, the public will find out, and that's what we plan to do. And I like the Ryuk's like, he can't see my Shinigami unless he touches my notebook. So how does he plan to do that? So yeah, so Light now can see Rem. Light can see Rem, but Misa at this point cannot see Ryuk. I wondered if maybe she, wanting to know how to kill a Shinigami, if she was going to try to kill Ryuk, like maybe seduce Ryuk, because she's like, well, it's not going to work for Rem. If she would try to seduce Ryuk to not kill her, it would be funny if her mindset was that now Light's kind of like a Shinigami in his own sense, writing names in the Death Note. If she got him to love her, is she wanting him to like sacrifice himself for her in some grand gesture? And Light's like, no. I'm waiting for her to try to woo Light over, or think that she's wooed him over, and she'll be like, oh, you'll save me, and Light's like, no, I'm not gonna save you. I'm like, no, that, I just, there's so many things brought up in this episode. But this is pretty smart. And then girl, she's so pretty. Like, Misa is gorgeous. Why can't I see my own lifespan if I have Shinigami eyes? Like, she could see Misa Amane. Tell me again. And Rem's like, okay, for the last time for the audience watching, people who have death notes only need to know their lifespan of the people they kill. Rem's like, there's no point in you knowing how much time you have left. Just like Shinigami can't see the lifespan of other Shinigami. People who hold a death note can't see each other's lifespans. And she's got the wig and the eyeglasses. I was like, oh, nice. So she goes undercover, which is kind of very smart for her to think to go undercover. It's really intelligent. I'm like, girl with this occult bedroom set. I kind of love her. I love her design, though. My friend and I showed off our notebooks in Aoyama. Yeah, because at this point, Elle does not know that notebooks are connected at all to Kira. The only thing they know is connected is eyes and Shinigami. They know nothing about the notebooks. That's completely superfluous to them. This is only understood by me, Kira, and the police will probably pay attention to the entry on May 30th because it says Shinigami. So she's not dumb. No, and I like that Light's like, the Aoyama part is the real message. So at that point, he's like, but if that's the case... I love that instantly! I love that as Light's trying to figure this out, Elle's like, hey, what do you think? I love that every time Light like gets onto something, Elle's like, hey, bestie, babe, what are you doing? What do you think, Light? And he's like, I shouldn't say anything carelessly. I should watch how he approaches this. And Elle's like, come on. He's like, right now, all I can say is that he's an idiot. And Matsuda's like, he is, isn't he? I am worried about Matsuda. I don't know. Matsuda, I was worried about him this episode. I thought that something was going to go down and Misa was going to kill Matsuda. I really am worried for him because he's a sweet, innocent cinnamon bun, and sweet, innocent cinnamon buns don't seem to last long in this world. So I'm a little bit worried. So my concern at this point is definitely for Elle. Like, how is he getting out of this? How the heck? Worried about Matsuda. He's too innocent, and I don't like it. I don't like where this is headed with him. And then his mom and sister, I'm like, when Chief Yagami finds out he's got a girlfriend, that's going to be interesting. And he's like, doesn't he understand if we air this, there'll be a panic and the game will be canceled? And I like that Elle's like, Elle says, to be honest, it's so stupid that I'm not sure how to deal with it. And that, I'm wondering if that is intended for Misa, if she's doing it to intentionally be confusing, but also if Elle's going to be like, wait a minute, kind of like when Elle was suspecting Light because things were too perfect, and he's like, wait, things are too perfect. Something's not right. I wonder if with Misa, he's going to be like, this is too dumb. Like, there has to be something else to it, right? I love that poor Matsuda's like, what are you going to do, Elle? And then this part, he's like, if the diary is broadcast, we'll have to announce the game's canceled on the 30th. I wanted to get a picture of this little part here. Why does he look like this? I'm going to put it up here for you all to see, but why is Elle so friggin' cute in that? Why? He's like, if we don't, the second Kira won't make a move, so we're kind of stuck. It's like, but if he gets angry that we cancel the game, there's no telling what he'll do. And so they contemplate. Yeah, the second Kira seems to revere the first Kira. Yes. Yep. And so Elle's like, I don't think that Misa's going to kill anybody as long as they meet Kira, but we've got to be careful. We don't really want them to meet up, but too late for that now, right? So, and Light in this one scene when Elle's talking looks so innocent. The way that they animated him, he just looks really innocent in that moment. It's kind of amazing. Our own Kira will respond with understood, let's meet. And And so then, yeah, Chief Yagami is like, do you really think they'd go there if we were inspecting the roads? And I like that L holds the piece of paper, like, with one finger, like, before, like, to get as few fingerprints on it as possible. And he's like, I don't think the real Kira will show up, but the second one will. I can't tell how stupid he is. And they don't find out about the dome thing because that doesn't come to fruition. They decide to meet Light beforehand, before the dome thing even becomes anything remotely possible. But they don't know that. The police are still going to cancel it. Assuming he isn't as stupid as we think he is, I'll try to see if there's another message within the diary. Yeah, so Elle's like, let's not say that he's dumb just yet. Let's say that maybe there's something else going on here. If there is a code that only people who have the so-called Shinigami power can understand, I can't decode it. Yeah. So, but we should thoroughly check out the places listed in the diary. So I thought at first that they were just going to randomly assign all the places, and Matsuda offers to go to Aoyama, and I was like, oh, Elle, you're going to want to go there because that's where you think the meeting is going to be. So he's like, let's go to Aoyama and Shibuya. We need to prepare for all the possibilities, be wary of anyone around with notebooks lurking in clothing stores in Shibuya. And I love that Light's like, oh, it's as I thought. If the fake Kira is caught, I'll have to obtain his notebook. But we get some lore on that. In the worst case scenario, I may have to kill everyone there. At that point, I was like, wait, what? Yeah, so Light contemplates that not only will he have to pry a death note from this second Kira, he may have to kill everyone there, whether they're innocent or not. So he contemplates killing an entire area, also they can't be found out. Okay, all right. At this point, I'm like, Light, you're off the deep end. So, of course, L loves his surveillance. He's like, I'm going to get Watari on this. He's going to hook up like 70 cameras all about Aoyama and Shibuya. We got this. We'll do undercover officers and stated dates. It's great. We can do this. And so Matsuda's like, I'll go to Aoyama and Shibuya since I'll fit right in. He's such a cinnamon bun, and I worry for him so much. I'm like, no, cinnamon buns are not welcome in this world. But Light's like, I'll go too. I go there occasionally, and that way it'll be natural. It'll look more natural if I'm hanging out with him. And he's like, the only person second Kira is interested in is Kira. And Elle's just like, that's not suspicious at all. I feel like in that moment, Elle's like, 6%. Like it shoots up 1%. He's like, what the fudge are you doing, Light? Why are you volunteering to go? You never volunteer to go and put yourself out there unless there's something to your benefit. That's why Elle's like, you never volunteer to go out of your way with something unless it's to your benefit. So why this now? And I love that he tells Matt, this is the part that gave me like ultimate death flags with Matsuda, was Elle being like, look, don't tell anybody, but keep an eye on Light. And him just like creepily looking out the windows, out the curtains of Elle, creepily waiting until Light's gone. Oh my God. Like he is suspicious of Light for sure. And I love that he calls him. I love Matsuda's like, why is everybody calling me? This happens as soon as I go out to turn off my phone. And he's like, yes. He's like, please keep an eye on Light. And Matsuda chalks it up to being like, oh, well, of course, Ryuzaki is still suspecting Light. That 5% chance, that's all there is to this. That's all he suspects, right? He's like, even the small percentage of doubt, we've got to be careful. That's what Matsuda chalks up to be. But Elle is actually legit suspicious, right? He thinks that Light should be under scrutiny. And I'm like, you're not wrong. So yeah, so Light makes up this lie. He's like, I'm supposed to keep the fact that I'm investigating a secret. So he comes up with the most 18-year-old response. That is a total lie. And that is, oh yeah, I have a girlfriend now. And the way that his face says it, he's just like, I have a girlfriend now. But it's just, Light, that's why I say Light is like aromantic, asexual. The way that Light says, I have a girlfriend now, and just says it so nonchalant, is like, it's just basically saying like, oh, I have a pet turtle now. Like just it's which even that's not even. It's just like him saying, oh yeah, I bought a sack of potatoes at the grocery store. That's how he says it, right? It just he's just like, oh, it's no big deal. And his mom's like, Ora. We actually had Ora in Death Note. His mom's like, Ora, what? And his sister's like, you have a girlfriend? What? And he's like, I'm an 18-year-old college student. Of course I have one. So that's just like Light, the facade of normalcy, right? Oh my god. The facade of being normal. Well, yes, every 18-year-old boy has a girlfriend, didn't you know? When that is the furthest thing from his mind, I was like, oh my god. And it's perfect. It is, again, the fates are shining down on Light because it is the perfect alibi to have Misa over now, saying that she's his girlfriend. The thing is, if she meets Chief Yagami, how's that gonna work? Like, how's that gonna work with her being Light's girlfriend? That's gonna throw up a red flag. That's gonna throw up a red flag because Chief Yagami is like, my son has a girlfriend now, and L's gonna spit out his drink and be like, excuse me? Like, L's gonna be like, there's no way that man has a girlfriend. And then it's gonna be more suspicious. So, yeah. It's like, good luck, Seiyu. And then he says good luck to Seiyu, but I'm like, isn't she in, like, junior high, Light? Like, she's like, oh, I don't need anything like that yet. I'm like, Light, you do you even know when people start dating? Like, she seems like she's in elementary school. And his mom's like, what about dinner? He's like, oh, I got room service at the hotel. And then she's like, hotel? Scandal. It's so scandalous. And Light's mom's like, oh my god, my beautiful boy, he's going to college and having girlfriends and going to hotels. And so then Light, meanwhile, is like, enough of that bullshit. I've got a girlfriend. I do love the lighting, the shadows of when he locks the door and he's like, Ryuk, I have something to ask you. I do love that. Like, they're in the dark. And like, dude, you could turn on your light. And Ryuk's like, oh, I thought so. He says, answer me if you can. He says, can Shinigami come to the human world talk to each other? And he says, well, it's hard to say. If I'm attached to a human, I think that that's against the rules. So we have this idea of that Shinigami cannot talk to one another when they're with a human. But there's a caveat to that, right? There's a caveat to it. He says, unless I have permission of the person I'm attached to. So Light has to give permission. Which I doubt he's going to do. I don't think Light wants them to talk to each other because that relinquishes some control that he has over Ryuk. Light has a pretty good command over Ryuk in this situation. So I don't think Light would want Ryuk to talk to Rem because that means that they could have a conversation he doesn't know about and that relinquishes some of his control, which Light's kind of a control freak. So I don't see that happening. He says, we don't have a code against it, so I guess another Shinigami might start talking to me. He's like, I don't know, they could start talking to me. I don't know until we see him, right? And Light, he says, so does that mean if fake Kira... What does he say there? He says, does that mean if fake Kira Shinigami sees you, there's a chance he'll tell fake Kira that I'm Kira? And Ryuk's like, that's not usually done. It depends on their personality. He's like, I guess if they're a dick, they will. It's kind of what Ryuk says. He's like, I guess if they're a bitch, they'll say that you're the real Kira. But most of us, have a little bit more dignity than that. He's like, so I can assume that you'll just act like you usually do. And I love this. Ryuk's like, yeah, even if I see someone with a Shinigami, I'm not telling you. I love it. Ryuk sticks to his guns, and I freaking love him for it. So yeah, Ryuk is going to remain neutral. Also, a quick side note. In Light's room, it's completely in darkness, but he turns on the overhead fluorescent light. What kind of psychopath that has lighting in his actual room, leaves it off, but turns on a fluorescent light above him, and that's it? Get a lamp. Get some nice, toned down orange ambiance hues, like a fluorescent light. Are you in an interrogation room? oh, it's his computer. It's not even a, yeah, but he has a little light above him. But I'm like, turn on your light. Why do you have just the computer screen, dude? I guess it's not, I guess he can't help it that his desk light is fluorescent. He can't help that. But still, turn on your light. He says, fake Kira, have you thought this out this far? And he's like, what is it? And he's like, and there's Note Blue. Ayama's pretty big. So I was searching ways that we could find each other. But on 22nd, there's an event at a club called Note Blue in Ayama. So, yeah. Misa, she actually, so she plans out the club Blue or the Blue Note. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And I guess with the Aoyama, it's Club Blue. I guess that makes sense, but she's may not be as dumb as she looks. And he's like, that's pretty elaborate. He's like, she might be smarter than I thought. That means I need to be more careful. But right now, this Note Blue is worth checking out. But what Light doesn't realize that Misa kind of has the OP power of the Shinigami eyes. So all of your planning means nothing. She just needed to see you. She didn't have to know your name. It was like, it really is like a shortcut. The Shinigami eyes take out all the deduction, it cuts this whole thing down to just being like, I just need to see you. Like, that's it. And that's kind of insane and terrifying. And it makes me really happy that Light has enough ego to not want him. Because I'm like, otherwise this series would have been 10 episodes long and it would have been over by then. Case in point. Interesting. So, but you don't want them to know you're Kira, right? I like that Ryuk's like, how you going to plan around this? And he's like, oh, I've got a plan. And so then he invites with Matsuda all the friends from high school. And he's like, oh, Light, what is this? He's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, these are my friends from school. And Light has on now a pink jacket. How many jackets does Light Yagami own? No straight man I know owns more than 3 jackets. They just don't. I'm like, wait, Light, how many jackets you own? You went from white to red to pink. You've got a trench coat too? Suspicious. But yeah, so he's got his like 7 friends here to come and help out. And Matsuda's like, oh, hey. He's like, this is my cousin Taro. It's our first time in Tokyo, so he wanted us to go have some fun in Oyama and Roppongi. And yeah, he's like, okay. But this is honestly, he's also looking for a girlfriend. And Matsuda's like, just leave me alone, Light. It's like such a backhanded compliment to Matsuda. He's like, oh yeah, he doesn't have a girlfriend. Matsuda's like, I'm happily married. Like, he's not, but it's kind of like Matsuda's like, wow, thanks, Light, for making fun of me. But Matsuda takes it in the positive way of saying, oh, Light, you got this group of kids together so that I can blend in and won't be noticed during our investigation. Good on you, Light. And that's not at all why Light did it. I'm sure that's what Light wants him to think. But the real reason is that he's like, and he's so smug. Like, Light's just sitting there walking like I did it, like doing a John Travolta walk through town with Ryuk behind him. And he's like, even if Ryuk is spotted, no one could tell he's attached to me if I'm with this many people. And it's also defense against L's surveillance cameras. It's not a bad way to investigate. Yeah, that's so good. That's great. But then the Shinigami eyes. I love that when we see the eye open up. Oh, and it seems like it's just a voluntary switch. Like, she looks like she doesn't have them until she does. I'm like, okay. But her with the glasses looking right at him. Oh, I love it. And I want to get that shot where she like flips the glasses over. Yeah, I want to get that shot. That's such a good... You wouldn't know it was Misa with the wig. Girl, how this girl knows how to wear wigs. Wigs, especially if you have long hair, you gotta like tuck that stuff up in there. I'm like, how, girl? Tell me your secrets. She found him. I do like this scene here. I do like this because we, the audience, do not get to know what Light's lifespan is, right? We've seen that before, but he's like, oh, we see like the other ones there too. So someone has Oh, God. Someone has 863171. One has 89. So that's good. But somebody back in the back there has 13111. Is that Matsuda? That's 13111? Who's behind him? Who's there? Because that's a very small number compared to the other ones. The other ones are like 863,171. One is like 8,911,034. But that one behind him is 13,112. That's not a lot at all. Who is that? Who's directly behind him? And she's like, I didn't think I'd find him so easily. Surprise, surprise. And Rem's like, I want to go back real quick and see who is directly behind him. It's Matsuda. Oh no. Oh no. I don't, yeah, no, it's, well, wait, no, it's not Matsuda, okay? It's Matsuda's a few guys behind him, right? So it's just the one guy that's directly, behind him. Okay, so it's not Matsuda. I was like, if that's like foreshadowing that Matsuda is gonna like kick the bucket early in this, I'm like, oh no. But Rem sees, so I'm assuming that Rem sees Ryuk because that sign of light, like walking away. At this point, Misa cannot see Ryuk, so Rem seeing Ryuk walking away with light, Rem can see him. Okay, but Ryuk, as far as we know, has not seen Rem. Okay. And so I like that Rem's like, okay, you found him. Isn't that good enough? And she's like, no, I can't just greet him by saying, Mr. Kira, I'm pleased to meet you. She's like, with all these people around. So she is smarter than that. She is not taking the L approach to just saying it out loud, I'm L. She's like, no, we can't do that. That makes me think that there's something else with Misa. Something else is going on. I'm like, I wonder if she's going to try to like, I wonder if her goal is to get rid of Kira, to get rid of Light, that she's trying to play him just as much as he's trying to play her. And she's like, I want to get rid of you because I want to be Kira. I want to be the one in charge, not you. Now that I have a death note, I want you gone. So I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I feel like she has an ulterior motive, right? I feel like there's an ulterior motive. And we just don't know it as the audience yet. I know his name. I can look him up later. Smart girl! She's like, I can just look him up later. Why not? And Rem's like, she's like, after all, it's such a unique name. Oh, something is up with her, and now I'm like 1,000 times more intrigued. I'm like, yes. So, okay, good to note that the death note will not affect those under 780 days old. That is 2 years old. Like 2.14. Was that 365 plus 365 is like 700 and something, so it's just right at 2 years old. Man, the terrible twos! Once you hit toddler age, death note can kill you, but if you're under a toddler age, you're safe. I am glad that I wonder why 2 years old. Like, do they think that 2-year-old, once you turn 2, you're no longer innocent? But yeah, I'm glad that you can't kill babies with the death note. Thank goodness. But also, aside from that, there is this other note that is saying the death note will be rendered useless if the victim's name is misspelled 4 times. The death note. Oh, interesting. Huh. The death note will be rendered useless if the victim's name is misspelled 4 times. Maybe it won't work. It won't work anymore. Now that's curious. So basically, if you are under 2, the death note cannot kill you. And then it says here that the death note is useless if victim's name is misspelled 4 times. Well, okay. That's interesting because it's like, okay, so if you are intentionally trying to kill L and you misspell his name once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times, and the whole death note's just done? But how does it know that you were trying to say the same? How does it know you were trying to spell the same name 4 times? How does it not know you weren't trying to write 4 different names? Interesting. That's curious. That's a very curious rule. I don't know how I feel about that. That's very interesting. But yeah, so we have her with the picture of the heart. I guess that's Mary with the heart. And she does the voice recording and says, Light Yagami, birth date February 28th, 1989. So wait a minute, February 28th. Was he a Pisces? He's a Pisces. Okay, interesting. Blood type A. Like, you find all this personal information. It's written as moon, but read as light. It's kind of dreamy. And he's impressive. Yeah. He won the nationals. And she's just like reading up on all these statistics about him. And Rem is like, can we just get this over with? I'd like to go back to the Shinigami realm. And she basically goes over all the information here. She's like, there's no picture of him, but there can't be anyone with a name like this. Curious there's no photo of him, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, who would have thought that Kira could be so young and cool? It's better. He's better than I ever imagined. Yeah, so she's crushing on Kira. So she can tell she has a crush on Kira, but I think there's more to it than that, and we as the audience just don't know yet, right? She's like, there's so many places that will just go and sell your personal records. The world is so twisted, isn't it? I even know his address now. Yeah, so she went as far to like look up his address and everything. Like this girl, yandere for sure, but I feel like she talks about how the world is twisted. And so I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she does want to just help Kira, but I'm like, I feel like there's more to it than that. So here we have, there isn't a trace of anything happening in Yama. And you see Light has the sunlight behind him. He's in the shadows. Like his body language is very cut off. I imagined when this scene started that he was really pissed off because he scoped out Yama and found nothing. He's just like, I spent the whole day running around Yama and nothing happened. It's like, on the 22nd and Shibuya on the 24th. I'm curious at this point if Light has still been killing off people or if eventually they're going to notice that the deaths have kind of lowered. I guess since it's riding off the heels of that incident with fake Kira that they're not thinking about that, or there were a lot of people that died in that incident, so who knows. The only place left is the dome on the 30th. I don't see anyone who could be the fake Kira. Yeah, so he's like, I didn't see anybody there. He's like, is he really going to the dome? And then Watari pops in saying that there's been another message from the second Kira. And they're all like, oh my god, it's postmarked on the 23rd, the next day after Ayama. And they're like, I found Kira. So thanks for all your help. Bye. And that's it. That's it. And Light's like, how? How'd they find me? He's like, where? And then they make this, he's like, did his Shinigami find Ryuk and tell him? There's no way that he could tell who Ryuk was attached to. I made sure no one was following me. Light's like, how did this happen? Right? And Elle's like, You can tell Elle's just looking at it going, this is interesting. So it had to be something with Ayama, and the only ones there were Light and Matsuda. And Elle's like, is Light really Kira? And it's like, yes, he is! He is, damn it! Elle is so close to knowing he's always right there. And I'm like, I just want you to know that it's Light. But, So they're both like trying to go through all of this, but we don't have any absolute proof that it happened to Yama. And they're like, well, that's not good. And so they deduce that second Kira and Kira have not teamed up yet. He's just found him as he's stirring his coffee. He's like, we know that they found him, but we don't know if they've teamed up. We can't be sure about that. He may not have contacted him yet. As he looks directly at Light. And so he's come to this point. He's like, the police will have to send a message to the second Kira and say, and they're like, well, what would that message even say? He's like, we'll reach out and then see if the second Kira will exchange Kira's name for a deal. And I love that Ryuk's like, he's like, this is a really bad turn of events, isn't it? Not really for Light. Even though he says this isn't good, it's like, I didn't know how he would react, but I have no reason. Yeah, so Light's like, I have no reason to stop this. I can't do anything. So if things had gone the way that they were going to go, Light probably would have been found out. But, well, we don't know Misa that well. If Kira doesn't know who you are yet, there's still time. So they're like, don't approach Kira out of curiosity. And so they try to use the thing saying Kira will kill you if you contact him. Trying to say, like, look, don't go up next to Kira. He'll just use you. What you can do is reconsider the value of human life. As Misa's like, oh, and atone for your crimes by giving us information on Kira. And save the people from the world from Kira's reign of terror. And so I like that she has this Christmas tree there and then all the skeletons and everything. So they try, put up here, they try to dissuade Misa from searching for Kira. They're like, he'll just use you. And it's like, yes, he will. But she's like, oh no. She's like, this will not do. And then she's like, I'm not going to waste any more time with the police. I'm going to dress up in the most revealing outfit I got. And I'm going to go find Light. I'm going to dress to the nines and go seduce this man wearing her lace sleeves, her lace sleeve gloves, and like this form-fitting dress. And Rem just looks like she'd rather be anywhere else. Rem's like, where are you going? I love Rem. I love Rem. Rem just looks tired. She's like, I'm going to introduce myself. With this purse that looks like a doctor's bag. I'm like, oh, to him. It's like, I love that Rem's like, oh, we're going to see him. Oh, okay. So she probably can see Ryuk through the rooms. And then they just show up. And there's this girl dressed in a black corset dress. Oh my God. And Seiyu's like, what? I'm Misa Amane. And I came to give Light an important notebook he left at the university. Like, girl is wearing hooker boots, ready to go. She's like, did you wait for a second? Oh my God. And I love that Light's like, a notebook? Is it Kira? And I'm sure that Light really had no idea who to expect with this girl, this scantily clad girl showing up at his doorstep. I just love that he's like, hello? Can I help you? Can I help you, ma'am? And then he's like, And she's like, I'm pleased to meet you, Misa Amane. I thought you might be worried if you were watching TV. So yeah, she wanted to meet up with him before he tried to reach out to the police. Because she's like, no, I found you. I don't want you anything else to go out to the police. So she just goes to him. Oh my God. I couldn't take it anymore. And she just says, this notebook. And Light's like, and he touches it. And then that's when it happens. He can see Rem. Rem's like, hey. Rem looks like a cat. Like a vampire and a cat. Which is fun. He's like, it's a Shinigami. She's the fake Kira. I like that Light is not fazed by Rem at all. Like, wow, so Shinigami don't all look the same. Funny that. Like, that doesn't just like, oh, cool, yeah, so it is the fake Kira. Light is not concerned at all. He's not spooked by Rem. Doesn't faze him at all. He's just like, she's the fake Kira. Uh-huh. And like, he looks so bitter about it. He's like, she's the fake. I'm like, girl, if you saw this guy looking at you like this, I probably would turn around and go. But then he's like, oh, come on in. And they're both like, what is it? Like, they're both like clutching their chest. Like, what is it, Light? Who's this scantily clad woman at your doorstep? And he's like, I'm so happy. And she's like, she came all this way to return my notebook to me. Can you make us some tea? And she's like, I guess. And he says, she's the one I was telling you about. And they're both like, this blonde girl with the corset dress? Oh, and she just bows. And they're like, aha! And here's the thing. She's like looking around the room. She's like, oh, thanks. She's looking around like, this room, it's not exactly my style. And so he just gives her the chair. And he just looks like Light. Again, there is no way that Light is attracted to women. There's no way, because there's just all he's thinking about is how to get rid of this girl or use her. Like, she is beautiful and shows up to his doorstep like looking extremely attractive, and he's just like, she's a fake Kira, like just like Light. And like like, offers her this. Also, you couldn't offer her the nice bed, the nice comfy bed. You offered her, like, the office work chair that looks like it has no lumbar support because you're a masochist. Okay. And she's just sitting there looking at him. And he's like, how did you find me? And she's like, oh, I thought so. You didn't do the deal for the eyes, did you? So, interesting. That seems to, like, relieve her in a moment because she knows now. She has confirmed that Light does not have the eyes. So she knows now that he can't kill her just by, he can't see her name, right? So I wonder if Amane is even her last name. Okay, because she seemed kind of nervous, so she didn't think he took the deal. So she could have lied about her last name for all we know, right? Misa Amane, she may have lied, and he doesn't know how it's spelled. So, that's interesting. I wonder if she did say it, like, the wrong way. She's like, when you have the eyes, you can see a person's lifespan and age, but you cannot see the lifespan of someone who has a death note. And Light's like, oh! And I love when he looks over at Ryuk like, and Ryuk's like, I didn't know this. He's like, I didn't know that detail. Light looks so pissed off. He looks so grumpy. He looks like a grumpy 10-year-old that's just like, how, you didn't tell me that part, Ryuk. And Ryuk's like, I didn't know. Rem seems a lot more knowledgeable about the Death Note than Ryuk does. I'm like, oh, I love it. I want to get a picture of that. I want to get a picture of Light being mad at Ryuk. It's so cute. The facial expressions in this episode were really, really good. But yeah. So Rem seems like she's a bit more knowledgeable than Ryuk about the Death Note in general. And he's like, okay. And he tries to pass it off. He's like, okay, I understand that. But he's like, what would have happened if you were caught by the police and Kira's secret was discovered? And she's like, it's all right. She's like, I wasn't caught, and if I continue to do as you say, I won't be, right? Ooh, that's interesting too. She's like, well, I wasn't caught. I was careful. I wore the wig and the glasses, so I couldn't be caught. And if I do as you say, I won't be, right? She is a bit manipulative too. She's like, if I just do like you say, I'll be fine, okay? That's interesting. Okay. Like with her big eyes, she's like, and I will see Elle's name, and I will become your eyes. Yeah, okay. So, and he's like, so what? Light's like, what do you want then? She's like, please make me your girlfriend. And he's like, what? But I'm not into girls. He's like, girlfriend? He's like, what? She's like, yes. And Ryuk's like, how are you going to do this? And Light's like, oh. Like, that, there was no part of Light was like, on board with this. Win-win for me. He was like, oh, if I'm not careful with her, she might kill me. I just love that look on his face. I want to capture it too. That he's just like his eyebrow raised. I'll have to get it later. His eyebrow being raised like, oh God, no. He says, but. He's like, well, that's impossible. There were 3 times the usual number of surveillance cameras. He brushes it aside. I was like, what are you saying? He brushes aside everything there at first, right? He brushes it aside like, well, forget about that old boyfriend business. He's like, how were you not found by the police? He's like, there's all these surveillance cameras. He's like, anyone in Yama would have been caught in camera, including me. And as he's saying that, we see from her perspective the Shinigami eyes, like she's seeing his name and everything. Ooh. But he's like, so if we get together after they saw you there, then even being together here isn't good. Like, they'll know that we're connected. And she's like, try to understand. She's like, this is a picture of me when I went to Ayama. I like that she planned this out, though, because she took pictures of herself with the wig and the glasses. I didn't think about that, of why she would take a picture of herself like that, right? Because I was like, well, why do you care how Light doesn't know what you look like? And if he has the Shinigami eyes, he's going to know your name anyway. So why do you care? Well, how does that make a difference between how you look? But she premeditated this. She thought ahead of time about not being caught on camera. So she may be smarter than she looks. She may have lured Kira out. I'm getting vibes from Misa. Okay. Interesting. And he's like, I'm sure no one would recognize her like this. And Light's like, well, yeah. So what about your fingerprints? He's like, well, account for this. The tapes you sent to the TV station. They've got your fingerprints all over it. And she's like, no, those aren't mine. She's like, I put some thought into my actions. And I love that she has the butterfly on her purse. That's the butterfly on his belt buckle. My headcanon with the OP now, unless we find out otherwise from this, is that she gave him the belt buckle with the butterfly as a gift from his girlfriend. She's like, a little while back, I lived in the Kansai region. Okay, now wait a minute. So she said a little while back, she lived in the Kansai region. Until when? This is from a while ago, right? She says, a while back, I lived in the Kansai region. And I had a friend who was into the occult. So when I told her we should make fake ghost videos and send it to several TV shows, she agreed to help me. And so I made her dub 10 tapes and made sure not to leave any fingerprints as she's sitting there eating the blue popsicle. I took those videotapes and added a graphic and added sound. And he's like, well, what's that friend doing now? He's like, what if this can get traced back? And she says, if you want me to kill her, I'll kill her right now. I'm like, the fact that she's as messed up as him. She's as messed up as Light is. Because the fact that she is willing to kill her friend who's done nothing wrong just to prove a point to Kira, to prove that she's trustworthy to Kira, is terrifying. I don't trust Misa at all. I'm like, no, she's as bad as Light. They're peas in a pod. Ooh. Okay. And Light's like, he doesn't say anything to that. He's like, But because that, according to Light, is not the way of Kira, right? The only reason he'd have to kill the girl is if it's a means of them being found out. And she says, if you really don't believe me, then you can hold on to my death note. So I want to listen to this. She's like, you're just holding on to it, so I still have ownership, and I still have my eyes. Is that right, Rem? And she says, indeed. So there's a little bit more to it. So you have to willingly give the death note to someone else in order to forget about it. So you have to willingly give the death note away to forget it. And apparently the Shinigami eyes will be gone if you do that. Okay, so there's some important world building right there. So basically, if you decide that you can't have the death note anymore, it's too much, you don't want to risk it anymore, you can pass that off to someone else. And when you give it to them and you willingly say, here is your death note, it is no longer mine, I don't want it anymore, you'll forget about it. And if you had the Shinigami eyes, they're gone. Okay. But if you just give it to somebody to hold on to, they'll just touch it and see Rem, but that's it. They will still be hers. She's like, you can just hold on to it so you can make sure I'm not using it. Oh my God, girl, what are you doing? And so he's like, she says, now there's no way I can kill you. If I'm of no use to you, then kill me. Why would she go this far? And he's like, but you might have removed several pages from the death note. You could be hiding them somewhere. And she has tears in her eyes. She's like, why are you so suspicious of me? I don't care if you use me. Believe me. Oh, so she just wants Kira to use her. Okay. But she gives a why. But I'm still like, But to erase everything, she wants to be used by Light, but there has to be more to it than that. There has to be more to it. Because Light's like, because yeah, this is a perfect scenario for Light. He has her death note. She can't write his name in it. She can't kill him. She wants him to use her like a damn, like a cereal box toy that you get, like, that helps you, like a decoder ring. And so he's like, "Why? How can you say that?" And that's when she claps and says, "Exactly 1 year ago, my parents were killed by a burglar right before my eyes." And she collapses and has this dramatic monologue, right? And says, "I couldn't forgive him. The trial was drawn out and some people started saying he was falsely accused. So that's when Kira punished him." Kira means everything to me. So the question is, do we believe her? Do we believe her entirely? There's several options to this. Either one, she is in fact telling the truth. She's being sincere, and her parents were killed by this burglar. The trial was taking too long, and there was threats of him being falsely accused for reasons we don't know. And she was afraid that her parents' killer would be on the loose again. And then Light just happened as Kira to show up and be the savior to her prayers and get rid of him so he wouldn't be out in the street anymore. She couldn't forgive him, and he got justice in Kira's eyes. I'm like, okay. So there's that she's being entirely truthful, and so she just wants to return the favor and help Light to create this new world so that other people like herself get retribution. So there's that possibility. Two, she killed her parents because she's kind of yandere and she's kind of crazy. She killed her parents, and that's where the false accusations come for. And she's just found out there's someone with this ability because she's obsessed. She seems obsessed with death. And when she said that whole thing about jealous, saying what a beautiful way to kill, the word kill there it's the same in the English dub and the Japanese dub. That concerns me because she didn't say what a beautiful way to die. She didn't say when Jealous wrote the name in the death note and died, somebody might have been like, "Oh, what a beautiful way to die because you loved someone. You sacrificed yourself for them. That's a beautiful way to die." She didn't say that. She said, "What a beautiful way to kill someone," suggesting like you could kill someone through love. There's more to Misa than meets the eye, and this feels to me like an act, but maybe I'm just jaded from all the shows I've watched. I'm like, I don't trust her. I'm like, maybe it's an act. I don't know. Maybe something doesn't seem quite right. Something is off with her motivation, and we don't fully know it yet. But I'm like, something's off here. But I love that she's just like, prostrating herself in front of him. And Light's like, "I just wanted to meet you so badly. I wanted to thank you." And so Light, like, all these irrational methods just to meet Kira. So, I mean, and on the one hand, she's also stroking his ego because she's like, "You're my savior, and I wanted to thank you and meet you, and you mean everything to me." Like she's just playing the violin. She's just stroking his ego, right? But what got me in the reaction was, if she's being sincere and she's giving this heartfelt confession, title of the episode, that if she's giving this heartfelt confession that her parents died and Kira was the answer to her prayers of this man getting justice served to him, it's this sincere moment, and she wants to reach out and thank Kira for doing something that means so much to her. All Light can think of is he says all these irrational methods just to meet Kira. And he says, "But at least she can get around the surveillance cameras and keep her fingerprints off the evidence." I'm like, he doesn't at all acknowledge the humanity and the empathy with her. He doesn't empathize with her at all. She's lost her family, and he doesn't empathize with that at all. He's just like, "Well, I guess she's not as dumb as she looks." I'm like, Light! Oh my God! It's just, he says, "She's not as stupid as I thought. She even says that she'll obey me." He's like, I can use her. just like they warned in the tape to her. He's like, I can use her. She's not totally dumb. She's somewhat resourceful. And she's completely devoted to me. I can use this to my advantage. I'm like, no. And that's when he makes the move. And does something so out of character for Light. But he comes up to her. And it's framed as this big thing. But he gives her a hug. He gives her this hug. And she's like, oh. Uh-huh. And he's like, I understand. I can't be your boyfriend, but I can play the part. And those eyes you gave up half your life for to meet me and help me will be a valuable weapon. Oh my gosh. Yep. So Light says, I can't be your boyfriend because I'm not attracted to women, but he says, I can pretend to be your boyfriend, and I will use your eyes as a weapon of justice. So he basically just came out and told her that he's going to use her, and she's just like, oh. He's like, I'll use you. I'm not going to be your boyfriend. I'm just pretending. And she's like, thank you. I'll work hard to make you love me. It's like it just went in one ear and out the other, girl. He just said he's going to pretend to be your boyfriend. He is not going to love you. And she's like, I will work hard to make you love me. What a yandere thing to say. But I'm like, that's the thing. She didn't have to do anything for Jealous to love her. She just existed and Jealous loved her for whatever reason. But here she's like, oh, I'll work hard to make you love me. And I'm like, he is not going to love you. And then her little cutesy face with the tiny arms where she's like hugging him. I'm like, it's so sincere. And then we see the Shinigami parents on either side of her. Oh my God, there's like, it's so funny. There's, it's very Adam and Eve, it's very Adam and Eve-ish. And then of course you have Ryuk and Rem who are like black and white there. But it seems like Adam and Eve joining together for the first time. But no, it's like Adam and Lilith. But then this is what got me, Light's face in this moment. He looks... She's like, as a sincere face, and Light just looks like he won the jackpot. Because he did. He looks so sinister and villainous. And just his face. Oh my God. I'm just being like, hey, I'm going to use this girl to kill Elle. And I'm like, Elle, run away. Run far away. So the one thing about this is that the whole Elle showing up in 3 days thing, at this point is off the table. At this point, when Misa was like, oh, I found Kira, then Elle no longer had to show up on camera anymore. So we saved Elle's life. But now that she's like, oh, I'm going to help you, Light, I'm like, I'm like, oh God. Oh, y'all, buddy. Yeah, about that. I am floored. I'm really floored. I'm terrified for Elle. I'm terrified for Matsuda. Misa, there's something off about her. Because on the surface, it seems to Light like she is as dumb as he thinks. She's like, well, she's not that dumb, but I can use her. But I'm like, something's off about Misa. Something I don't trust. I don't trust Misa. Something suspicious about her. I can't put my finger on it, but it just seems too easy for Light. It seems like it's too easy that he's just going to use her. That seems like it's too easy. There's got to be something else to it, and we don't know what yet. But I don't know. He has the death note, so she can't kill him unless she has snuck in pages and has lied to him. I just don't know. But she seems like somebody she seems smart enough to premeditate this. So who's to say she didn't take pages out of the notebook? Who's to say she didn't? We don't know. She's premeditated all this stuff without telling us. So but the thing is, Light, she's a woman. And Light has, throughout this entire series, consistently thought women were inferior to him. So, of course, he thinks that she's not. She's probably telling the truth. Oh, we're getting emotions involved in this. We're getting love. Light's going to pretend to be a boyfriend. Elle's going to see right through it. I'm just like, indeed. I don't know, but this just gets more and more fascinating and more complicated. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait a week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. This is getting bonkers, y'all. But yeah. Here we go. Taking the plunge, aren't we? So I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen next. I hope you all are too. But in any case, I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers. But I'm so excited for episode 14. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 14 of Death Note. Bye.